Hello everyone, so I decided to let strangers pick my TBR pile. I went on to Goodreads and asked a bunch of people that I'm not friends with what their favorite books are. I think favorite books can tell you a lot about a person. Do they like comedy? Do they like more sci-fi or fantasy? I know a lot of times people feel pressure to say their favorite book is some type of classical or a book that is so profound. But that shouldn't be the case. It could be just a book that made you feel great at the time. You could have been going through something hard and this book made you happy, and that is why it is your favorite book. I know I've been ashamed of some of the books that I've read in the past. I was reading it for pure entertainment, and so I was kind of a little embarrassed to be like, oh, I'm reading this young adult book or this middle grade series. But that is just silly. You can find meaning in any book that you read. I know my boyfriend used to only read books that would challenge him, and so he didn't really like reading. He wasn't a big fan of books until I was like, why don't you just read for fun? There's nothing wrong with just reading for fun. And so that is what he's trying to do now. On Goodreads, I got quite a few responses. Some books I've read, some books I've never even heard of. So with these favorite books, I'm excited to read them from a different point of view, because I'm reading it from a point of view that somebody loves this book. It is their favorite book. So these are the books. Let's get started. So I'm hoping to read these books throughout the year, but I'm probably not going to. The first book is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I remember reading this book in high school, but I have no idea what it's about anymore. In high school, I didn't really like the books that I was assigned to because it kind of took the fun away by having to read these books and having to write a paper on them and having to be graded on it. It kind of lost the fun in it. So I'm interested to see if I will like it now that I'm not being graded on it. The plot sounds interesting. It follows two rival gangs that are divided by their socioeconomic status. What I really found interesting was that the author started writing this when he was 15, 16 and got it published when he was 18. I think that's amazing. The second book is Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. I'm not too sure about this book. My mom has read this series and told me that based off the things that I like and dislike, I probably won't like this book. But looking at it through a different light will be good for me, because then I will focus on things that are really good about it instead of all the things that I probably won't like about it. The third book is King by T.M. Frazier. I have never even heard of this book. Just based off the cover, it isn't something that I would normally go for. I probably would just skip this book if I was looking at the shelves. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but we all do it. But while looking at it, it has some amazing reviews. This follows Doe and King. Doe has no memories of who she is, and King is a notorious career criminal who just got out of prison, and they somehow meet. And it sounds interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about romance books, but it has great reviews, so I'm interested to find out if I like it. The next one is Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I'm not sure if I'm going to read this book because I've never read a Cassandra Clare book. The Shadowhunter series is not something I was ever interested in. I know it is very popular here on BookTube, and it is many people's favorite series. So maybe I might get to it at some point, but there are a lot of books I do want to read, and this isn't something that I want to read at the moment. The next one is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is a book I've marked to read back in 2013. I don't even remember doing that. I don't even remember the feeling of wanting to read this book, so it's like kind of a new book that I've never heard of, even though I did want to read it at some point. The book does sound very interesting. The description on Goodreads says, under the influence of their charismatic classic professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, they slip gradually from obsession to corruption and betrayal, and at last into evil. That sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to reading this. The next one is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I think I will enjoy this. I did like Simon versus the Homo sapien agenda, and just by the description I can see why it will be someone's favorite book. It seems very relatable and heartfelt. The next one is Kindred Spirits by Rainbow Rowell. I liked Fangirl, but I did not like Eleanor and Park, so I'm kind of hesitant on this one. But the description did mention Star Wars, and Star Wars is one of my favorite movies, so that kind of got me hooked. And it is a short story, so even if I don't like it, it didn't waste any of my time. The next one is Reign of Shadow by Sophie Jordan. I think I will find this book okay. So it is about 17 years ago, an eclipse cloaked the kingdom in darkness, and a chancellor killed the king and queen, and the princess had to hide away. And for her own safety, it is best that people think that she died also. When she meets Fowler, she's drawn to him, even though it is a big risk. But when the tower is attacked, the two of them escape, and she soon finds out that the outside world is scarier than she thought. This book does sound interesting, but it also sounds like a lot of other books that I've read, but I'm sure I can find something special about this book. The next one is The Lies of Lemoore by Scott Lynch. I've never heard of this book, and when I looked it up, I loved the cover right away. It is described as part Robin Hood, part Ocean's 11, and that is a very interesting description and got me very intrigued. This follows Locke, who falls in the hands of an eyeless priest named Chains, who is neither blind or a priest. He is actually a con artist. Chain has a family of orphans known as the Gentleman's Bastards, and he kind of teaches them his special abilities, and Locke becomes kind of the leader of them, and he becomes very famous among everyone. Soon someone named Gary King comes along who's more powerful and threatens to destroy everything, and so Locke is determined to defeat him or die trying. Sounds very exciting, and I'm looking forward to reading this book. The next one is The Prisoner of Cell 25 by Richard Paul Evans. This is another book that I've never heard of. I don't think I would have picked this out myself. The cover doesn't draw my attention, but after reading the description, I think I will actually enjoy it. It is a sci-fi fantasy novel about Michael Vey, who thinks he's just a normal 14-year-old boy with Tourette's syndrome, but he actually has special powers. He has electric powers. He thinks he's the only one until he meets a cheerleader named Taylor, who also has these special abilities. And they kind of go off to find out how they got these abilities, but in doing so, they attract the attention of a group who wants to control the electric children. The next one is the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. I read The Lightning Thief a long time ago, and I remember thinking it was okay, but I was very judgmental back then. I thought the writing was very juvenile, and I didn't really pay attention to the story. Now I'm more of looking at the story and not thinking that it is written for middle grade. And now that I've read a lot of middle grade series, I think I will actually really enjoy the Percy Jackson series. I love mythology, so I'm looking forward to rereading The Lightning Thief. The next one is A Man Called Ove by Richard Bachman. I've heard great things about this book. I've wanted to read this book for a while, but it's one of those books that I didn't think I would really think it's for me. It is about Ove, who people describe as grumpy and a bitter neighbor from hell. And then new neighbors move in, and they form an unexpected friendship. This book sounds inspirational and also hilarious. I can see why it would be someone's favorite. The next one is The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. This is another book that I've heard great things about. I've wanted to read this because I'm making an effort to read more diverse books, and this sounds very interesting. This is about Amir, who is the son of a wealthy merchant, and Hassan, who is his servant and constant companion. Their uncommon bond is threatened when Amir chooses to abandon his friend amid the increasing ethnic, religious, and political tension of the dying Afghan monarchy. This book sounds like it will be a powerful read where I will learn a lot. The next one is Ender's Games by Orson Scott Card. I'm pretty sure I will love this book. It's a science fiction fantasy novel, and those are some of my favorite books to read. The next one is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I will admit that I never read a Jane Austen book. In fact, I haven't read a lot of the classics intimidate me, and I will kind of feel ashamed if I don't actually like it, since it is a classic and I'm supposed to like it. But I've always wanted to read Pride and Prejudice, so this will give me a chance to do it. The next one is Paper Cranes Don't Fly by Peter View. This is another book I've never heard of. This is about Adam, who has a tumor in his head. This is going to be a powerful book about cancer. I think this will be a book I will connect to. When I was younger, my dad had cancer, and I don't really remember that time because I was a baby, but I kind of grew up always afraid that it will come back. So I think this will be a very inspirational, sad novel, and I'm guessing I will probably cry, but those can be some of the best books. And the last one is TheDarkest Minds by Alexandra Bakken. This is a fantasy dystopian novel that I think I will really like. This is about Ruby, who woke up on her 10th birthday and everything changed. She was locked in the garage. Her parents were very afraid. They called the police, and she was sent to a government rehabilitation camp. And she was one of the few American children that survived this disease. And this disease made her have these gifts. Now she is 16 and she is one of the dangerous ones, and she kind of breaks out of camp and is on the run. That sounds very exciting and thrilling, and I probably will very much enjoy it. These are all the books on my TBR. I'm excited to read it because I don't think I would have even heard of any of these books if I didn't ask strangers to list their favorite books. So in the comments below, tell me your favorite books. So like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!